Literature and reading, are these terms of any particular importance or value in people's lives? What do you do in your free time? Do you maybe watch TV? Or do you play computer games? Do you just listen to music? Or do you do sports? Or do you read a novel, magazine, or anything else?
Oh, that's a nice question. And in my free time, I like to work on the computer, but I always do a little bit sport, and sometimes in the evening I read a book.
Yes, I sometimes read a book, and I like going for a walk, and I like sports.
Well, I mainly watch TV. Sometimes I'm playing some computer games. I regularly practice the French horn, and sometimes I read some novels, but that's very rare.
According to the Oxford Dictionary, literature means pieces of writing that are valued as works of art, or pieces of writing or printed information on a particular subject. But what comes to your mind when you hear the word literature?
Shakespeare, because it's one of the most popular English writers.
Books, poems.
When I hear the words literature, I think of novels and poems, and think of great writers like William Shakespeare, Johann Wolfgang von Goethe, or J.R.R. Tolkien, for example.
The term literature includes many forms of written text. For example, short stories, Shakespeare dramas, poems, and Dickens novels. But also pop song lyrics, graffiti, anecdotes, magazines, newspapers, and written jokes are part of literature. Here you can listen to some examples of what people think belongs to literature or not. Do you think that a pop song lyric is part of literature?
Yes, because it's very emotional.
Okay, and do you think poems belong to literature?
Yes, why not?
And magazines?
Yes.
And a written joke?
Yes,
Why?
because it's this written thing which makes people laughing.
Do you think short stories belong to literature?
Yes.
And what about magazines? Do they belong to literature? Do you think an anecdote is part of literature?
Yes, I think so.
And graffiti?
No.
Why?
I think graffiti are drawings.
And what about a Shakespeare drama?
Oh, yes, sure.
Do you think that short stories belong to literature?
Yes,
And do you think that poems are kind of literature?
definitely, yes.
And a newspaper?
Now, in my opinion, a newspaper is just an informational text, not literature.
And a Shakespeare drama?
I think they are a classic example for literature.
And what about a joke?
In my opinion, jokes doesn't belong to literature. They build their own category.
Reading is an activity which is more or less popular. Do you like reading?
Yes, I like reading.
Yes, I do like reading very much.
Some people only read if they have to, and other people only read in the evening before they go to bed. But when do you usually read? A book, a novel, or a magazine?
Okay, in the morning I read the newspapers, and sometimes I like to read on the toilet. In the evening, it's the best thing to calm down.
I mostly read in bed before I fall asleep.
I'm normally reading when I'm traveling around by train or by plane.
There are so many things you can read, like novels, short stories, or non-fiction books. What do you read most?
Most of my books are psycho thrillers because I think that they are unputdownable, and sometimes I read non-fictional books about computers.
In the morning I read the newspaper, but I prefer reading books, novels, for example.
I normally read fantasy novels, novels about the Middle Ages, and sometimes magazines, mainly scientific magazines.
There are so many books, but not everybody likes every book. What's the title of your favorite book? Can you remember the author? And what's the book about?
My favorite book is a psycho thriller from John Katzenbach. It's called The Patient, and it's dealing with killer.
I really like to read Drachenläufer. It's from Husseini, and it's about a childhood in Afghanistan. Afghanistan before the war, when Afghanistan was still a monarchy, and it started there and ends 30 years later. It's very interesting.
My favorite books are Die Zwerge trilogy by Markus Heitz, and it's an adaptation of the Lord of the Rings saga.
Even though only a few people were asked to answer the questions, the questionnaire still shows if literature and reading is relevant to people's lives.